Good evening, folks. It's Venture Setch covering the 2020 Major League Wiffle Ball World Series Quarantine Classic. The Toronto Big Dogs taking Game 2 in extra innings. We'll see how the Birmingham Whifflin' Wizards can respond. Let's take a look at what's going down tomorrow in Game 3. Both teams switching it up on the mound. Nathan Johnsrud making his first career start. Of the few appearances that we've seen from him, all we really know is that he's got a pretty decent fastball and he's capable of taking on this lineup. And for Birmingham, Kyle Kubacki finally getting the call up to the mound to make his first career pitching debut. Nobody really knows what to expect, and that just has to be an advantage for the Wizards, as he's bound to keep the big dogs on their toes. I did get an exclusive one-on-one with Nate Johnsrud. Here's what he had to say this morning. Nathan Johnsrud, pleasure to have you today. How's it going?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, Nathan. So you guys are coming off a pretty big Game 2 win. Just kind of tell us the mindset that you guys had going into Game 2 and really how you guys came back after such a close loss in Game 1.
When we were going into Game 2 without Ish and Thomas, we didn't know if we were going to make it. Those injuries are pretty big to our team. We knew that Spencer Fetch was going to be coming in throwing heat, but we also knew that he's not the best closer, and the best closer is Clay. So we just had a feeling that we could really bring it together towards the end once they realized that they were going to start closing Spencer. So, we knew his arm was going to be a little rusty out there towards the 8th and the 9th inning, and we were correct. So we just took advantage of his arm and ran with it.
So tomorrow night, you're making your first career start. Just tell us what's going through your mind and what kind of preparations you're going to be taking for this really big moment in your career.
Well, I've been taking a lot of precautions. I've been practicing out in the yard, with the kids, and I'm just trying to get in that work. I know that I threw a few Ks or strikeouts against Kyle and Clay, but I know I really got to step up when it comes to Spencer and Owen, because they are big hitters, and they'll get on top of the ones that you throw a little slower.
And lastly, what are you going to do in order to win Game 3 tomorrow?
Well, I'm going to prepare myself. I'm going to eat a good breakfast. I'm going to make sure my team is ready, and I'm going to make sure that we step up and we take another game, 2 in a row.
Well, Mr. Johnsrud, that's awesome advice, and we love hearing from you, and good luck tomorrow.
Well, thank you. It was an honor to be on here.
Let's take a look at the team leaders after Game 2. Although Thomas Bastardo still technically has a perfect batting average, we did not include him on this list due to being on the IR. After Gajewski's extraordinary Game 2, his average bumped up all the way to .533 and now leads the team. Fetch remains on top in batting average for the Wizards. Mraz leading Toronto with 5 RBIs, while Fetch and Daly still share the lead, also knocking in 5 RBIs each. Bastardo still with the only homer of either team this series. Both teams' aces lead their respective teams in strikeouts, with Mraz throwing 19 and Fetch accumulating 32 strikeouts in 2 games. While Fujiasco still leading the big dogs in effort, Clay Amadon recently took over for Birmingham in that category. Can't wait to see what else this kid can do. A few key points going into Game 3. The Bastardo brothers have been recently moved to the IR, and no return to play schedules have been released for either player. Since we've barely seen Johnsrud pitch and have never seen Kubacki pitch, it's simply impossible to predict what's going to happen tomorrow. It's certainly going to be a learning curve for both teams as they face someone they have rarely or never seen before. After 2 games, it's fair to say that each team is finally getting a feel for each other. As we heard Johnsrud say earlier, players on both sides are now able to pick up tendencies of their opponents, and even though it seems little, this plays a huge role in a team's ability to predict and will be taken advantage of. It's also important to note that this is Birmingham's first home appearance in the series. Let's see if this plays a role in how the Wizards perform. After Game 2, sources say there was a bit of a heated discussion between Birmingham's Clay Amadon and Spencer Fetch. Fetch confirmed this to me this morning and said, quote, "That's what brothers are. You fight, you argue, and you make each other better. Clay and I have never been better, and sometimes you need those in the locker room in order to get everyone on the same page." End quote. Let's see if this has any noticeable effect on the field tomorrow. And finally, Fencer's keys to winning Game 3. Birmingham racked up 6 errors in Game 2, which eventually led to runs. If Birmingham eliminates those errors, they eliminate more potential base runners, as well as more runs. If the Wizards get their defense under control, they should be just fine. With both teams facing relatively inexperienced pitchers, it's important to produce lots of offense on both sides, as we don't yet know how either pitcher can respond to adversity. Birmingham simply needs a smarter pitching rotation. With Kubaki getting the start, it'll hopefully give Fetch a couple of innings rest before he gets to take the mound. Fetch cannot pitch 9 innings in the next outing, and they need to preserve his arm. Toronto needs some more consistent hitting. If the Wizards didn't have so many errors, the Big Dogs would not have had nearly as many scoring opportunities, which could have led to a loss had Birmingham eliminated those errors. Toronto just needs to step up, and they can't rely on bad defense to win this game. And finally, coming off a stellar performance, the Wizards need to do everything they can to get Gajewski off his hot streak and hold him to as little offense as possible. And before we let you go, we have a special announcement from Major League Wiffle Ball pertaining to the series awards. Frontrunners for each award will be announced in every game preview, starting in the Game 4 preview. Final award selections will be announced in a separate production, and all awards will be accepted during a post-series press conference. Awards will be determined by a player's vote. Polls will be released after every game, starting Game 3, and will be shared with players on both teams. Awards will be given based on cumulative votes after the series is over. The only award that isn't determined by votes will be the Louisville Slugger Super Slugger, and that will be determined by the highest batting average of either team. Series awards will include the Louisville Super Slugger for the best hitter, the Sue Potsy Cy Young Award for the series' best pitcher, the Subway Golden Glove for best defenseman, the Big League Chew Catcher of the Year, and the David Jumbo Sunflower Seeds Most Valuable Player. And that's all we have for you today. We will see you tomorrow for Game 3 of the 2020 Major League Wiffle Ball World Series Quarantine Classic. I'm Fencher Setch. Stay classy, folks.